Hey, what's up, fans of the Unofficial Commentators? This week, JJ 98 and Packy are back to cover the news that's happened this week, and man, did we have a lot of things to cover. We talk about the show Vikings. Spoiler alert, if you haven't watched the show, we give away some important plot lines. We talk about Fast and the Furious 8, Fate of the Furious, whatever it's called. No spoilers there, but I'm a little bit disappointed in how it turned out. We take off our reviewer's hat and we talk about the UFC on Fox and if my man Demetrius Johnson deserves to be in pay-per-view fights. We talk about the football schedules being released today, the Aaron Hernandez situation that happened yesterday, the Pats visiting the White House, and the NBA playoffs. All that and more on the Unofficial Commentators podcast. If you enjoy one of those topics, if you enjoy all of those topics, stay tuned. We cover all that and more starting now.
We are back. The Unofficial Commentators are back for another awesome edition. I mean, NBA playoffs are a full swing. This cannot be much a more exciting first round. I am extremely pumped. Back with my friend JJ 98 and Packy here, both of us hosting this show for you guys. Remember to follow us on SoundCloud at Unofficial Commentators, and you can also find us on YouTube. Of course, social media, UC_podcast for Twitter and at Unofficial Commentators for Instagram. Man, am I excited today, Jay. I bet you know why I'm excited right now in this recording specifically. I am super excited. You know why, right?
Why are you excited, sir?
You know why I'm excited. I'm a huge LeBron fan.
What exactly happened? I was a little bit out of it. I didn't get to see that game.
Oh my God. LeBron put in the performance that a king does. Greatness.
Yeah, did he score a triple-double?
He actually did, yes. He did get a triple-double.
With 50 points?
He didn't get 50 points, but he did get a win, and he did get the greatest comeback in the history of NBA playoffs. So
first round.
That's a pretty decent accomplishment. Yeah. Whatever you want to call it. They were down 26. LeBron James put up a show. No Kyrie Irving, no Kevin Love in the fourth quarter. All LeBron James. Amazing, man. I am so excited because there's nothing that feels better when LeBron James gives me reason to talk shit on the haters. So I'm going to be gloating all day till the next game, bro.
And I guess you have every right to. Well, we'll get to basketball in a second. Before we do, just want to cover a few bases. I want to thank Cousin Juan and Omar for joining us last week's episode. It was a really watched episode. It got a lot of reach. I guess their followers and their social medias got a chance to check out the Unofficial Commentators. And that's pretty much what this is all about. You know, we stay making stars. We have our own experts. We don't rely on those guys in the four-letter companies that get paid to do this. We want to kick the perspective from actual fans. With that being said, man, give us a little insight about what you've been up to this last week.
I actually wanted to talk to you, man, about that because you told me you caught up with Vikings. I completed Vikings. I'm just waiting for season 5. I believe you did so too. So I mean, what you think about it, man? What you think about it?
No, I think I'm like 4 episodes away from finishing off this last season. So far, I'm liking it.
So what you've seen so far?
It took an unexpected turn. I don't know. I mean, the season's been out long enough, man. I don't know if we can talk about it without spoiling it for others, but
spoiler alert! Just throw a spoiler alert out there. If you haven't seen it, just fast forward a few minutes.
Yeah,
that is what it is.
Earmuffs, everyone. I'm going to talk about. Do a little bit of this. Just don't listen. And when I do the intro, I'll tell you when we stop talking these spoilers. That being said, I couldn't believe they killed Ragnar, man. What the hell? I thought he was the driving force of the show when we lost Ragnar. Honestly, man, I got to tell you, speaking like totally sincerely, I think that I lost a little bit of interest in the show without Ragnar. I was watching it like kind of the way that you were watching it, right? Like episode after episode after episode. After he died, I saw the following episode, and I was still kind of into it. Then I saw one more, And now I'm like, yeah, I got 4 episodes left, but I kind of pick them up whenever I pick them up. It's very rare that a TV show continues its run of prominence after they lose one of the most prominent, sorry for the redundancy, characters in the series. I mean, I thought that the entire point of Vikings was following the story arc of Ragnar, but this is rare. This is strange about how I watch TV now. I check shows that are loosely based on real life against, like facts from wherever, the Wikipedias, or just go to the internet and find out how the real story of Ragnar Lothbrok was told. And
Right.
they pretty much describe the death exactly the way that it happened on the show. And a lot more happens now with these new characters. I believe, if I read this correctly, that they signed on for another season, maybe the final season, so they might kind of speed through it now. But the characters that are left over have a lot of stories yet to tell. But Ragnar Lothbrok will sorely be missed.
Yeah, I mean, it was bound to happen because, like you all said, they didn't kill Ragnar. Ragnar died, and let's not forget, this is a History Channel series. So this is about not factual events, but about stories that were told about these Viking heroes or Viking characters. Because obviously they twist some things around. There's a lot of interesting stuff because I went crazy like searching for stuff. It's like OJ versus the trial for me versus the people all over again that I just go crazy. When I see real stuff being portrayed on TV, I go insane like looking for the real data. So Ragnar died, according to the stories, just like that, how he died on the show. So it was bound to happen. And season 4 at the beginning was taking kind of a hit because we were seeing a very old and worn out version of Ragnar, which wasn't as fun as the first couple of seasons. So from here on out, I would definitely encourage you to watch because it gets extremely interesting from here on out. I mean, Ragnar's revenge is definitely worth it because that's what's happening now in the last 4 episodes. The Revenge of the Sons. And not to spoil anything, but based on real history, there is a lot of stories to be told. The show. No, go ahead. Put on your headphones. I'm not spoiling anything. I'm telling you, based on the real history, there is still a lot of story to be told for season 5 because the show is called Vikings. It's not called Ragnar. So, like I said, I went crazy.
But it should
reading
be called
up,
Ragnar.
There's a lot of. I know, man. I was crazy with Ragnar Lothbrok. I mean, normally when you watch shows,
Like that movie,
watch shows.
what was that movie, Troy? Man, that should have just been called, what was his name, Achilles? Like that. That's all anyone cared about.
Yeah, and Vikings was so shocking because normally when you see a series, you see the main character struggle to get to the top if he ever does get to the top. And Ragnar just flew right up the rankings. I mean, before season 1 ended, he was already an Earl. So it's very impressive how he went up so quick. I mean, it's obviously we're gonna get infatuated with the character of Ragnar. So I completely get you. It's to me, it's one of the best shows I've ever watched, and they keep true to the story. And I'll give you a fact, a fun fact. That again, spoiler alert for the people listening. In season 3, when Ragnar actually gets into Paris. Shit, there's some wind here. All right, so in season 3, when Ragnar actually gets into Paris and that he fakes his death, the true story isn't Ragnar. It's actually Bjorn that does that. It's not Ragnar in real life.
Bjorn is a beast.
Yeah, Bjorn is a beast. So they do switch up a couple of things. Supposedly Bjorn, when he is the explorer that they put him out to be in the show, and it didn't happen in Paris. It happened in Italy. They got to a town in Italy which he thought was Rome because of this crazy protection and certified walls they had. Fortified walls, I'm sorry. And the only way in after getting beat over and over again was him faking his switch to Christianity and asking for a Christian funeral. He went in and he blew up everybody, opened up the walls, and he took over a place in Italy. So, it's a lot of fun facts. They mix up a little bit of things, but I'm loving it, man. And I can't wait to see what's going to come.
All right. Here's to the end, and here's to King Ragnar. Something that I
Yeah.
saw this week that I didn't find was that great. Man, I saw Fast and the Furious 8, The Fate of the Furious. Oh my God. What the hell?
I haven't seen it.
Listen, I'm going to go out and just say this. I liked whatever the last one was called, Fast 7 or Furious 7.
Who the fuck cares?
I thought that because Paul Walker died before the movie came out and they were still editing it, every time I saw him in peril, in some kind of dangerous situation in the movie, I was like, is this it? Is this when they're going to, like, write him off? Is this how he gets his grand exit from the movie and they make it like a really meaningful thing and kind of write around it? And I was surprised that he made it all the way through. While watching this last movie, though, it was just ridiculous, and it was predictable, and it was oh my God, it was just ludicrous. I don't understand who the target audience of this is anymore. Like, they're going for absolutely no realism at all. The script was terrible. The jokes, I mean, they basically have Tyrese and Ludacris in that movie as comic relief, and they're just pushing these jokes so hard, and they don't hit. They just don't do it with me. I thought that the funniest character in the whole movie was Jason Statham. Go figure. You never figure that the British dude is going to be like the funniest guy there. He was the funniest dude in the whole movie for me. So take from that what you will.
Yeah, I've seen religiously every Fast and the Furious movie that's come out. Not because I'm a fan, but because I started being a fan. And I was so deep into it already that I was like, I might as well keep watching. I don't watch them in the movies. I don't give them my money. I have a very strict policy. I'm not going to waste my money on Fast and Furious because I don't think it's worth it. The movies are horrible, including Fast 7 to me was trash. You pretty much covered it. They're all the same. No scripts. The jokes are dumb. It doesn't have a target audience anymore. I mean, they don't even put the same racing scenes as before. The cars aren't even that impressive anymore. They just have all types of different cars. It's not the same as it was before. It's not even a racing movie anymore, which is what it started out being. Now it's just the adventures of Vin Diesel or Dominic Toretto and his family. Yeah, that's what it is. That's what it's become. And again, I haven't seen the 8th edition of Fast and the Furious, but this is, to me, Fast and Furious has become kind of like an after-school fight at 3 o'clock. It's ugly. It's not really good. Nobody is fighting well, but everybody's yelling, fight, 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 fight. And everybody's all excited about a dumbass fight. That doesn't mean anything. I mean, there's probably not even any blood in the damn fight. It's a bunch of kids fighting at 3 o'clock. And every time it happens in the year, you're going to hype it up to say, fight, fight, fight. And you're going to see some ludicrous stuff, pun intended, that doesn't make any sense. And that's exactly what Fast and the Furious has become. People go to the movies and start yelling and get all pumped for some ridiculous stuff that if it wasn't called Fast 8 and you would put different actors that weren't the same ones you already know, people would be like, this is trash, this is stupid. So that people go watch more of the name than the actual movie. I'm not a fan.
Well, I think they're just trying to top themselves with every edition to see how much more ridiculous they can get and how much more.
I mean, they keep breaking the box scores. They keep breaking the box scores.
The box office, yeah. Did you see the last one where they jump one car from like one building into another? I mean, you don't even want to imagine the kind of shit they do in this one. Like this has become a thing with me, right? When I go watch these movies, I find like a certain aspect of it and then I accentuate it. So with this one, you can play the drinking game this way. Every time you see something in Fast and the Furious that makes you say, man, get the fuck out of here, that couldn't happen, take a drink. And you'll enjoy that movie a whole lot better. I want to add a little bit more to that whole analogy you made about the fight after school, that they're not very good. And I want to talk about fights that were actually very good. This weekend I caught UFC on Fox. I missed the first fight. Don't think I missed much.
Nice segue, bro. Nice segue.
I'm getting good at this. It's been a couple of episodes. I missed the first fight. It didn't really matter. It looks like it went down to a split decision. Those wars typically are great. think what you will about Jeremy Stevens. It's kind of whatever. Roy Nelson fought in the prelim. I think that was his punishment for having kicked one of the referees. They put him in the prelim and not in the main card. He lost that one in the unanimous decision. I'm sorry, man. I think you didn't watch it. I don't know if you're going to go back and watch these fights, but the last...
That's fine. You can go ahead and talk about it.
Yeah, UFC on Fox, the last 3 fights were amazing fights, man. They were great, and they were great finishes. It was just great, fun to watch. And it's what the UFC needs. When they put out a show on Fox, which people tune in, you know, for free, they want to see these great fights, so it kind of sells them on paying for the pay-per-views. But they also have to start delivering on these pay-per-views, man, because the last few fights that I've seen on pay-per-view have been, the last few cards have been kind of weak. Robert Whittaker beats Jacare Souza. Souza coming off a big win over Tim Bosch. Jacare Souza is suffering from the same illness, or fight illness, if you will, as Cowboy Cerrone, where they just fight too often, and when you do that, you're bound to lose. Like, there was nothing for him to gain in that fight. You know, honestly, nothing. I mean, even if you won, you're still going to be ways away from contending for a title. So, did you really need the money? Like, why are you rushing to have this fight? I won't understand it. He loses. It bumps him down in the card. It doesn't look great. Bad decision by Souza. But at least he announced that he signed a 8-fight new contract, so we're going to have Jacare Souza for a while. The ladies were the co-main event. Rose Namajunas versus Michelle Waterson. If you don't know who Michelle Waterson is, she's the karate hottie. Great fight, man.
Right.
There was a little bit of everything. Stand up. There was submission. There was up against the cage. There were a lot of sprawling, a lot of on-the-ground work. At the end of the whole thing, it was Rose Namajunas winning by rear naked choke after she first clobbered Michelle Waterson with a kick across the forehead that gave her a huge mouse. I'm not going to say that she was covered in a bloody mask, but it's rare that I see women bleed that much. She was really, like, bleeding out of that eye. She got kicked right across the head, and Namajunas went in for the kill. Thug Rose wins that one. And Demetrius Johnson, this guy does not get the respect he deserves. I know that it's the popular stance now after he won this fight. I believe he's won 10 in a row or 11. I'm sorry.
10 title defenses in a row. That's
10
amazing.
title defenses in a row. Okay. I was saying before this, I don't understand why we don't put this guy on pay-per-view. Okay, so maybe when he was a lesser-known name, you could say that he doesn't draw. I get that. So put him on a couple of free shows. But at this point, man, he comes out, he wins every fight. He wins, not even by decision. He's finishing fights. They brought in an entire The Ultimate Fighter dedicated to 125 pounds with ex-champions from all these other divisions, all these other federations, to come in and fight him. And as they come up, he's beating them all. And not beating them by decision. He's not fighting strategically. He's finishing fights. And even then, the guy doesn't get on pay-per-view. I don't know what it is. I've seen him in interviews. He seems like a fun dude. He gives good interviews.
This is where I kind of blame the UFC a little bit. I'm not building superstars. They put all their eggs in the Conor McGregor and Ronda Rousey basket. And back then it was Anderson Silva and then John Jones. And I understand that Mighty Mouse does not sell right now. I know people don't really get attracted to the 125-pound division. But you should start putting this guy on pay-per-view, even if he's not the main event, and try to start hyping him a little bit more, market him a little bit more. This guy is so marketable, it's not even funny. He's an excellent fighter. He's young. He's a great athlete. Like you said, he has an awesome character. I mean, this guy can be your hero because he definitely doesn't seem like a villain. He has some good trash talk, and he finishes fights. He's dominated the division completely. He's turned that division into pretty much a bunch of no-names because anybody that's on the up-and-coming, I mean, Dotson was the best example. I mean, Dotson tried several times, went through everybody in the division twice to get to Mighty Mouse and get clobbered twice. Cejudo, everybody they put up with this guy is supposed to be the next big thing, and he just he doesn't just beat them, he embarrasses them. So Dana White, take notice. You have to start marketing this guy a lot more. Put him on pay-per-views, even if he's not your main event. People will appreciate a title fight as a co-main event, regardless of what you have in the main event. I did not watch this fight night, this fight card, because I was very busy with the NBA playoffs. So I'll keep my opinions very limited. I will tell you this: I did see some highlights, and the Jacare Souza knockout was humiliating to Robert Whittaker. I feel bad for him because he was kind of forced into this situation. I think this is exactly what Dana White wants. They never wanted to give him a legit title shot, because if they did, he would already be up there because he's deserved it for a while. And now Dana White has the perfect excuse to not give him one. Now he has to work his way back up after getting knocked out by Robert Whittaker. Hopefully, Jacare Souza could get better from this. But to me, Jacare Souza, if he ever makes it to the top, it's kind of going to be like Robbie Lawler type story. He's going to fight for a long, long time before he gets recognized.
Pretty poignant words, man. That's pretty much all I can say. The Sprint Center where they had this event has a capacity of 18,972. They drew in a gate of 12,171. Mind you, 18,972 is when you play basketball. But when you have an octagon, you fill around what would be like the basketball court with more chairs. So it should fit, I don't know, I'd say a good maybe 1,000 more seats in there. And even then, they were in that capacity. So I don't really know what that says about Missouri as a UFC town. But one more thing I wanted to mention, and it's to the point you were trying to make. There are people that, because there's just so much to see on TV, so much to do outside of the TV world, and there's just so many fights and so many fight promotions. Some people, and I'm often in that class, only watch the pay-per-views. And with that being said, if you never put Mighty Mouse on a pay-per-view card, you're never going to see whether he draws or not. So Dana White, man, like Packy just said, take notice, put this guy on, give him a chance, and let's see if he's drawing crowds or not, and prop him up, man, help him out, give him a good co-main event and see what happens. Dana White seems like a really busy dude, by the way. Like, why is he being quoted every single day? Every day I get a notification of something he said about a fight, a potential fight, something that may be going on, just his thoughts on McGregor, Mayweather. There's always something like...
Because it's like a monopoly, man. UFC is close to a monopoly. There's many other fight promos, but UFC is the only one that people actually care about. You got to be a really, really deep-in fan of MMA to follow any other promotion. But I'll tell you this. Dana White went in on the Rumble Johnson. He retired, promotion train. They went crazy with Wonderboy Thompson. He lost twice to a title fight, so you gotta limit that. They went hard with Johnny Hendricks. That failed miserably. So you keep running through people, man. Give Demetrius Johnson a chance. I think he deserves it, man.
All right, now, if you say that one more time, we're going to get to the point of overkill. We've made our point. He needs to be on pay-per-views. Something happened yesterday that took over the sports news contingent, and it's Aaron Hernandez committing suicide in jail. He wasn't ever going to see the light of day anymore. I think I heard someone else say this, and I kind of agree with it. He was pretty much dead to everyone anyway. All you were ever going to see from Aaron Hernandez wasn't even him going back to court anymore, because what's there for him to go back to court to? It's just him in a jail cell. Maybe, it's good, or maybe it's not good for his daughter and his family to go and visit him in jail and at least know that he's there. But he was pretty much dead to me the moment they sentenced him with life in jail. So does this mean anything to you? Any kind of impact at all?
Yeah. By the way, to the conspiracy theories out there, it was confirmed to be a suicide. He left notes. Me personally, I really doesn't bother me that he committed suicide or anything. He committed a pretty hideous crime, and man, was this guy giving so many opportunities to have an awesome life, to give his family an awesome life, and he ruined it. So obviously it's unfortunate the way it all ended, but I can't say that it gets to me, the fact that he committed suicide. I did want to clear up something, though. There has been some information coming out there in media that I've gotten some people blasting on different social groups, saying the following. This is the quote of the post. It says, Aaron Hernandez committed suicide because under the state of Massachusetts laws, if you die during an appeal of conviction, automatically the original conviction becomes null and void, which means he never violated the New England Patriots contract. Thus, his daughter is entitled to the remainder of the $15 million the Patriots promised him, whether he died a day after he signed the contract. He actually had a reason for his suicide. Now, just wanted to clear up some information on that. If that were the situation, then yes, that post would be correct. But I did confirm with Jose Antonio Sahur, one of my friends, fellow Central Crow, and a lawyer, graduated from Columbia. So a shout out to Jose Antonio Sahur. The guy has legit credentials. And he explained the only problem is that he never went to an appealing process. It never got to that. He was declared not guilty in his last two cases, and he had already declared guilty on the first. If by any chance he would have been declared guilty on the second charges, and he would have gone to the appeal process, and then he would have committed suicide, then that post would have been correct. But the appeal process never got to happen. So therefore, that post is false. I wanted to make sure everybody was aware of that information.
Okay, so I guess he just wanted to die.
I guess nothing to live for. Life in prison, what is there to live for? I don't get it.
I mean, if there was a chance that this thing you just described could happen, then my man, start the appeal and then do it. Doesn't it make sense?
He was declared he was guilty on the first one, so there was no appeal because he testified.
But
and on the second one, he was declared
on.
not guilty.
I don't know anything about this. I mean, I'm hearing about this for the first time. I didn't even know the post existed. But just going off what you're telling me, I'm reacting live right now, recorded for some people, but live as I heard it right now.
Right.
The fact that he was, I forget what the word is, basically found not guilty of the other double murder. His lawyers were preparing for an appeal that they might have lost, yes. But you're telling me that all they had to do was just appeal. They don't have to win, just appeal. You would have done this, and then the money is still there. My man.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I guess he just wanted to die, nothing else. While one patriot was dying in jail, a few of them decided to skip a visit to the White House. Does this have any impact on you? How do you feel about over 30 players of the New England Patriots, Super Bowl winners, who visited the White House yesterday, skipping a meeting at the White House with our current president?
Shouldn't have an impact on me. It should have an impact on the White House correspondents and the president. It sends out a message, and I'm very intrigued to see what's going to happen when the NBA players win the championship, whoever wins this year. That's a good point to segue, by the way, but we'll get there eventually. I want to see what happens with them when they visit the White House. That'll be interesting to see. But in the meantime, that pretty much speaks for the nation. Everybody's been upset about the Donald Trump, presidency, and that pretty much proves that athletes are not agreeing with it either. So I really don't like getting much into politics, especially with the Donald Trump thing, because it's such a touchy subject. But it speaks words, man. You saw how they were, saw how it was when it was Obama. It was a totally different picture. So definitely this is not the type of president America approves of. He has to do something to get back to the community, like to get back the respect of the community.
But it changes absolutely nothing. I mean, if I'm...
Nothing at all.
Yeah, if I'm playing for the Patriots, I dare say, and this may hurt a lot of Patriots fans, that you lucked into that championship because they were down by enough points. No one ever saw that ever happening where they come back and win that Super Bowl. So there's no guarantee that if you're a player on that team that you're going to get a chance to visit the White House again. So you gave up your only opportunity to go there as a Super Bowl winner. I mean, you can go as a tourist, but as a Super Bowl winner, because you didn't want to shake hands with the president or whatever the situation was. And what exactly did you accomplish? What was the point of that?
Well, I'll tell you this. Maybe they didn't accomplish anything. Maybe it's not worth anything. But to me, that stand is bigger than Colin Kaepernick's stand because it's not about publicity. It's not about getting attention on me. It was a legit stand from the players. And I'll tell you this. I'm pretty sure that all the players that are still under contract for the New England Patriots, I doubt they think that this is going to be their only Super Bowl. If you play for the New England Patriots and you're under contract and Tom Brady's still playing and Bill Belichick is still there, you probably think you're going to win another Super Bowl. So what does make sense is they probably won't win another Super Bowl with another president because that's 4 years down the road, and you got to think if Brady's going to be there 4 years down the road. But so if you do win another Super Bowl next year, it's still going to be Donald Trump. So I guess if they continue the stand, or if it happens again in this Super Bowl, no matter whether it's the Patriots or anybody else, if players don't show up again, then it's going to start, it's going to start to get the ball rolling. So again, get some attention.
So staying with football, we pretty much had our show mapped out. We knew all the points we wanted to hit. We had a whole bunch of things to talk about. And then, boom, 420 happens, and we get the NFL schedules. Huh?
Yeah.
You excited about these schedules, man? I saw you salivating before the show started about all these games that your team is going to have. Tell me, man, you got a chance to look at the schedule. How do you see this breaking down? How many wins are the Raiders going to have this year?
I'm extremely excited about the schedule. I'm super excited about the draft, which, by the way, I'll give a heads up. Next week, we need to have an NFL draft special. We're going to be releasing probably the day before the draft, so we need to have that next week. We'll probably won't get to talk draft today, unfortunately. But first thing I noticed about the NFL schedule is Thursday Night Football is still going to suck. How about that? I even saw the Rams play the 49ers on Thursday Night Football. Good luck with that. I would have been much more excited for this schedule if I wasn't so into the NBA playoffs right now. I'm so sucked into that. But for the first time in a long time, it feels good to go in as a Raider fan into a season from the beginning with actual Super Bowl hopes. Because last season, Raiders weren't coming into the season. Raiders weren't supposed to be legit contenders. Everybody saw them like, oh, they're going to improve. They might get a wild card spot, but they impressed everybody with the season they had. So now they're Carr back healthy. They got some reinforcements. Possibly Marshawn Lynch is going to be with the Raiders. Not a sure thing yet, but it is in the works. Khalil Mack is getting an extension. The offensive line is back. Everybody's healthy. A more mature Amari Cooper. There's a lot of expectations for the Raiders. We have a lot of good draft picks as well. And looking through their schedule, I'm just going to talk about the Raiders' schedule real quick. Shout out to my buddy Omar, who, by the way, is close to losing a bet that we have in the NBA playoffs. The Raiders play the Miami Dolphins on Sunday, November 5th. Sunday Night Football at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. So that's going to be fun to watch, me and my buddy Omar. This is going to be revenge for all the times that the Miami Dolphins have beat my crummy-ass Raiders when they were the crummy-ass Raiders the last couple of years. I'm looking through the Raiders schedule. It looks to be fairly easy the first few weeks. Week 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, until week 10 that we have a bye week. It's going to be fairly easy. We got the Titans, the Jets, the Redskins, the Broncos, the Ravens, the Chargers, the Chiefs, the Bills, and the Dolphins. Raiders can easily win most of those games. Out of those 9 games, the Raiders can win at least 7 easily. That would be great because after the bye week, it gets so tough. This is a make-or-break schedule right here for the Raiders, guys. I know a lot of people are hyping up the Raiders next season. If the Raiders can't get through this part of the schedule, then they're pretenders. Patriots in Mexico, Broncos, Giants, Kansas City Chiefs, and Dallas Cowboys, all back-to-back. That's a hell of a schedule, man.
Ouch. Well,
man, that's not easy. That's going to be a tough stretch.
The scheduling gods did not do my New York Giants any favors at all. They're starting off on Sunday Night Football at the Dallas Cowboys. This has been a trend the last couple of years. After the Cowboys, they go against the Lions. I don't know yet what version of the Lions we're going to get this year. The Philadelphia Eagles, probably the worst team in that division. At that point, I'm thinking maybe they're 2-1. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, game they could win, but it's the Giants. You never really know. 2-2. Then we have the Los Angeles Chargers. They should win that one. The Denver Broncos, the Seattle Seahawks, and then a bye week. Man, Los Angeles Rams, it kind of tails off a little bit. So Rams and 49ers back-to-back, 2 winnable games. The Chiefs, it's kind of tough. Then we're going to play the Redskins at Washington on Thanksgiving, a game that my cousin already said, hey, man, you want to go see that live? I'm like, sounds interesting. I might actually try to make it out there. We play the Raiders at Oakland on December 3rd after Thanksgiving. We have the Cowboys on my birthday.
Another revenge game for you, man, because remember when we went to see the Raiders at Meadowlands, Raiders lost. So
well, that's going to be a shootout, man, because the Giants' defense got a lot better last year, and their offense is firing in all cylinders. They picked up Brandon Marshall, got rid of the fat with Victor Cruz. May he rest in peace wherever he lands. And from all accounts, it looks like they're going to go big on running back in the draft. So let's see what happens. They end the year with Cowboys, Eagles, Cardinals, and Redskins. Maybe split that 2-2. I'm thinking we have a good chance of going 10-6 this year.
Oh man, I'm just excited. I got to play the Dolphins and the Giants. Most of my friends are from that fan base, and we got to play the Eagles on Christmas Day. So we'll try to make that favor for you and beat the Eagles.
Do that. You can totally beat them. I believe that the Raiders could beat the Eagles. We'll have more on the schedules a little bit later, but I just wanted to get your first day initial reactions on some of these teams and how they kind of play out in their schedule. So with that being said, actually no. Do you have anything else you want to comment on football before we talk NBA playoffs?
Nah, man, let's get to the playoffs.
Playoffs? So, playoffs have begun. The first round is underway. Most of the series are midway through. Some of them are a little bit deeper than midway. It looks like the Cavaliers are well on their way to sweeping the Indiana Pacers, much to the chagrin of a couple of people in the newly titled The Break Room chat group who thought that there was no chance in hell that Cleveland, playing the way they were towards the end of the year, were going to be able to sweep the Pacers. But so far, they proved them wrong. How have they done that?
I've been telling everybody since day one, oh, Cleveland, they're going to lose the first seed. Oh, Cleveland, their defense is horrible. Oh, Cleveland, yes, all of that is true. But come playoff time is all about adjusting and moving on. And that's exactly what Cleveland has done throughout these 3 games in the playoffs with the Indiana Pacers. The first half of Game 3 versus the Pacers, the Cleveland Cavaliers were probably the worst defensive team in the entire playoffs. I mean, they allowed 74 points. They were pretty much horrible. But, man, did they tie it up in the second half. Again, all about adjustments. It's all about adjustments. And we've seen how Cleveland has adjusted throughout these 3 games. I mean, I pretty much called out how each game was going to go through because I can picture – I've seen this before. I mean, Miami was a 2nd seed once with the Big 3, and everybody was worried and concerned. But it's all about how they adjust. And LeBron James is probably one of the best athletes ever in NBA history at adjusting, especially throughout a series. And you got to give some credit to Tyronn Lue as well. I called out first game was probably going to be a close game.
What the hell is Tyronn Lue doing? Get out of here.
I'll tell you right now. I tell you today. Tonight's game, Tyronn Lue.
You're embarrassing yourself. Tyronn Lue.
No, let me get to it.
Man.
Let me get to it.
He's just out there wearing. He's out there wearing his daddy's suit, looking fancy. Get out of here with that.
I consider Tyronn Lue to be a puppet, but there are certain things that he's done that you deserve to give him credit for. First of all, the first game I called it to be a close game. It was. Cleveland won. Second game I called it to be a blowout game. It was. Cleveland was faltering in the 4th, right? And they let that game get closer than what it should have, but they still won. So I expected this game to be a game where Cleveland will finally get it fixed in the fourth quarter. And that's exactly what they did. And here's where I give Tyronn Lue credit. First of all, he's drawn up some pretty good plays on the inbounds. And second of all, the entire fourth quarter, no Kyrie Irving, no Kevin Love, no Tristan Thompson. Okay? The fourth quarter was LeBron James, J.R. Smith, the only starters, and you had Deron Williams, Channing Frye, and Kyle Korver. They played the entire fourth quarter. They even called timeouts, and they kept coming out. And this is where you have to give some credit to Tyronn Lue, because this is what Popovich does. You keep what's working. You don't fall into players' egos. Of course, Kyrie deserves minutes. Of course, Kevin Love deserves minutes. But it wasn't working. And when you found something that was working for this particular game, he went with it. It could have been LeBron. I don't care. But I got to give the credit to Tyronn Lue for keeping with that. So that's not an easy adjustment to make. Credit to Cleveland, I mean, the way they pulled through, and that was an amazing performance, by the way. And like I said, I do not see the Pacers winning a single game. This is going to be a sweep. Shout out to Darryl and Omar for betting against that.
All right, superstars are made in the playoffs. I've seen a superstar emerging for the longer part, or the larger part of this year. Or maybe the longer part, yeah, because I'm talking about Giannis Antetokounmpo this week, or today, actually.
Wow.
After hanging in there with Toronto for 2 games, they absolutely stomped. They stomped on the neck of the Toronto Raptors. They won this game 104-77. They narrowly missed winning by 30 points. Man, Giannis Antetokounmpo.
I have a question for you, Jay. Biggest disappointment so far in the playoffs, is it Toronto or Boston?
Probably Boston. I mean, disappointment only because they were the first seed, but so much was made of the fact that they're not a team that's built for the playoffs. They are the first seed with the worst point differential. There were many reasons to think that Boston was not. They were a far first seed.
Right.
But that being said, they're still the first seed. So, yeah, that's got to disappoint a lot of people.
Yeah, definitely. I'm going to go with Toronto.
Wait, sorry. And before you do that, and then the team that they're losing to. I mean, I guess at some point we're going to talk about that series itself. But go ahead. Give me your view on Toronto, and then we'll talk with some Boston later.
Yeah, I asked you that because I think it's Toronto. And you would have asked me this yesterday, I would have said Boston. But after what happened today, by the way, I did not see the entire game of the Toronto-Milwaukee since I was watching Cleveland-Indiana. But I was flipping through the channels and seeing Toronto losing at one point by 30 points, and seeing that halfway through the third quarter, they had only scored 36 points. Look at this. First quarter, 12 points. Second quarter, 18 points. Third quarter, 16 points. That is ridiculous. That is bad basketball. I cannot comment on the X's and... No, that's the team.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's not good.
Wow, yeah. Yeah, I mean... You're getting blown out, and I'm picking Toronto because this is a Toronto team with a seasoned Kyle Lowry, an improved DeMar DeRozan who burned through the regular season. I mean, these guys have gone to the Eastern Conference Finals. They've gone through wars with LeBron James, and now coming up so short versus Milwaukee. I mean, I'm not to discredit Milwaukee. Milwaukee has so much young talent. They're so tall. They're so tough, and they're very deep into their bench. They're not an easy task, of course, but Toronto by far should be doing good players they have, they've had throughout the last couple of years, and given the fact that they've been consistently to the playoffs in the Eastern Conference. So in Milwaukee's pretty much a newcomer. This is humiliating. Losing like this is humiliating. The series is now down 2-1, and I really doubt Toronto's going to win another game. I know a lot of people might think Toronto's going to kick back, but after seeing this game, it's ridiculous, unacceptable.
Well, it's chess, not checkers. You don't have to win just one game, and when it comes to the playoffs, man, matchups are the key. So Toronto, for as good in a season and experience and everything else you mentioned positive about them, they're a small team. They don't have that many bigs. They're basically relying on Valanciunas and Ibaka, and then everything else is kind of guard play. And their guards are not guards that show up in the playoffs. So if your guards don't show up, and if you're small and you're playing against a really tall team, it's going to be a tall task to try to beat the Milwaukee Bucks.
And credit to Giannis, man. Giannis is probably one of the next best things. This guy's evolving into an amazing player. And I was talking with my friend Rodney just today. It's like how amazing this Giannis and Kevin Durant guys are. Their physique, they look so skinny, right? But they are still strong. They have the strength of a bigger man than what they are. So when these guys plant their feet and jump, it's like they just springboard out of the freaking backboard because they're so light. It's amazing. I mean, Giannis has developed into an amazing player. He's gotten people involved. His jump shot, his three-point shot, his long range is not the best, but you see how he creates for others with the spacing that people give him since he's not going to shoot the long range. So credit to him, man. He is becoming a hell of a basketball player.
Man, I know that I say we shouldn't go back to to matches we already talked about, but I mentioned earlier when I read over the box score for the Cavalier game, the Pacers won in just about every category that matters. They won the rebounds, the points in the paint, the free throws, the free throw percentage. Things like blocks and steals and turnovers were a push. Like it could have gone either way. The difference was too small. But where the Cavaliers beat them was in three-point shooting. This is what defines a winning NBA team right now. If your team shoots and makes the threes, you're most likely going to win the game. And if Giannis's three-point shot is going and the rest of the Milwaukee Bucks are hitting those, man, there's no way they're losing that. So with all those things that I just mentioned, I just want to say take that for data.
Yeah, and I'll tell you this. I know my friend Darryl hates it when I say it, but it's just another proof I've said it. In basketball and football specifically, stats don't always tell the entire story. Unfortunately, they just don't. I mean, look at LeBron James triple-double with 40 points. You can't compare that. I'm sorry, Jay. I don't want to hit you on the soft spot, but you can't compare that to a Russell Westbrook triple-double. You can tell the difference in the game.
You're just a hater.
Stat-wise, it's going to look the same.
Just a hater.
And same thing here. I mean, I know what you mean about the three-pointers being credited, but I think what made a big difference that doesn't show up on the stats is how the defense made Indiana miss a lot of those shots in the second half. Cleveland's defense in the second portion of the second half was very impressive, and that's where stats lie because they front-loaded all these stats for the Pacers. You can look them up. They're all front-loaded to the first half. That's the problem. They blew Cleveland out of the water in the first half. You've probably seen rebounds and blocks and assists and all that on the Pacers side, but I'm sure all of it was in the first quarter, in the first half. Second half, it was all Cleveland. So, overall, the stats don't give you specific details of what happened in particular moments. I don't know if it's making sense, anything what I'm saying, but if you try to understand it, this doesn't tell how the game went out.
All that matters is that it makes sense to you. A while back, I said take that for data. I was ready to move on to the next matchup. The Coach Fizdale from the Memphis Grizzlies made headlines this week about fronting up against the NBA referees for not calling enough fouls for his team. I'll be honest with you, man. That game started so damn late that I fell asleep before halftime when they were down by like 17 points. I was like, well, no chance they're coming back. I saw that at one point, or maybe at the end of the game, they only lost that by I think like 4 points, so they caught up. And I believe that he has a point. I know that Illich was saying that, he was crying and some crybaby stuff, and I don't agree with him crying, man. I think that was a legitimate gripe that he has. And shout out to the Memphis Grizzlies for picking up the tab for that fine. I mean, I thought that him going out and saying that brings brings his team to rally up behind them. It lights a fire under the team. It shows team unity. They all pitched in to pay this fine. So, I mean, Mike Conley could have paid the fine by himself. We saw what contract he had. But with that being said, they paid his fine. So they're showing, their leader that they have his back. And today they're, at least at the end of the third quarter, they're up 81-63 over the San Antonio Spurs. So I guess some things change when you complain. El que no grita no mama. So ahí está, Memphis Grizzlies está mamando.
I'll tell you this much about that. As a coach myself, not of basketball but of football, there comes a moment that your team might be down, that they're expecting you to fight for them if they're feeling uncomfortable with something. And you have to do it, and you have to do it passionately, and you have to do it meaningfully. You can't just do it. You know where it happens a lot? It happens a lot in baseball, when a player starts arguing with an ump. Coach has to come out, probably going to get thrown out, but he has to stick up for his guys. So that's why I give so much credit to Coach Fizdale. I don't agree with anything that Illich or anybody that's said he's wrong has said, because it doesn't matter if he's right or wrong. It doesn't matter if the refs were calling the right whistles or not. What matters is that he's sticking up for his guys. They're expecting him to do so, and that's going to light a fire under them, like you said. So, and not just that, it gives you respect for future circumstances. Just to prove that, I haven't seen much of the San Antonio-Memphis series and the Clippers and Jazz series. Those are the two series that I've seen the least of. Mostly because the Clippers and Jazz, I just haven't been able to schedule. And Memphis and San Antonio, because I thought this was going to be the most boring series. And Memphis is now winning by almost 20 points at the end of the third quarter to San Antonio as we speak. I don't know how that game is going to end. We saw Cleveland come back, so it's still possible for the Spurs. But I can tell by just looking at the box score that Memphis probably is playing with a little bit more passion than with the past games that they've gotten blown out. I remember once, in one of my first season as a head coach, we were getting all the calls against us, against a rival team. And to be honest, I think most of the calls were inappropriate. I mean, they could have gone either way, but it's just like, man, the problem is when you're seeing calls get called against you and they're not getting called against the other team, it starts getting to you. When you see the guys starting to put their head down, when you see your guys complaining, they're expecting somebody to show up for them. I ended up getting kicked out of that game because I went so hard on the refs. They kicked me out of the game. I had to watch it from the stands the rest of the game. But you know what happened? After that game, we did lose the game. We ended up losing the game anyways. But I got so much positive feedback from the guys and so much respect that I was like, all right, well, we lost the game, but we probably wouldn't have won anyways the way it was going. So at least I won this from that experience. And that's what I see with Coach Fizdale, because he is a young coach.
I mean, you knew that the other coach had pedigree and you were a rookie, but you're not going to let them rook you.
Yeah, man, I'm not going to let them rook me.
Yeah. So.
And you know what? It sounds funny, but that's exactly what it was, because nobody knew who I was. Of course I was getting rooked.
I bet that doesn't happen anymore, huh?
Nope.
All right, Kevin Durant didn't play yesterday for the Golden State Warriors, and it did not matter. They just absolutely stomped all over Portland. It was actually a blowout where the first game with Durant was a closer game. What do you have to say about this? Ring chasing?
I want to be honest. It looks to me that whether the Warriors were to lose, I think Kevin Durant might be on his way out of Golden State. Because to me, they look like the exact same team with or without him.
Dude, but I told you this. I told everybody this.
Yeah.
They traded Harrison Barnes for Kevin Durant. Everything else, all those other pieces that they supposedly lost, I mean, you give up Bogut and you get back, what's that other guy's name?
No, but that's not what I meant. I meant that they looked this year, with or without Kevin Durant, they look exactly the same.
Because they are the same.
I'm not saying they look the same as last year. I think last year they looked better. I mean, this year, if you just watch some Golden State games, you probably might say oh, is Kevin Durant playing tonight? You know, you can't say that about LeBron James. You can't say that about Kevin Durant in Oklahoma City. It's like, oh, Kevin Durant's not playing tonight. All right, whatever. Doesn't really matter. Kevin Durant missing a game got the exact same expression from media and fans that J.R. Smith got in Cleveland for missing a game. So that tells you his importance to that team. I think there's going to come a point that either remember, he has an opt-out clause. I think his ego is going to kick in. He's going to start getting offers. People are going to talk in his ear. I think he's going to bail. I think he's going to get out that boat, whether they win or lose.
I think you're wrong.
Yeah, I think he's leaving.
Why the hell would I leave the team that wins the most games?
Because you're not important there.
Why would I have gone there in the first place? What do you mean he's not important there? I mean, they rolled out the red carpet for him. When he plays, he's the leader in points. He's the leader in rebounds. He's the leader in just about every stat. They give him his value.
And they don't miss a beat without him. And to me, Kevin Durant is probably the second best player in the NBA after LeBron James. I think Kevin Durant has all the potential to carry a team. But him playing there, he's having an easier, it's an easier route, of course. It's easier for him. He's getting better shots. But I think it's going to come a point in Kevin Durant's career where he's going to feel that he's going to want to do it differently. So even if he doesn't opt out of this one, at most he'll sign a short contract like this one, if anything. But I don't think he's going to go long term into the Warriors. I don't see it. I don't see it.
Whatever. It's the number 1 seed beating the number 8 seed at home. So whatevs. I mean, you kind of expected that to happen. Portland is weaker than they should be because they don't have Nurkic. Yeah, they might have come out in the first game and kind of sucker punched and surprised the Golden State Warriors. Not to mention that,
like they did last year. Yeah,
not to mention that C.J. McCollum played lights out last game, and they weren't good shots. I don't know if anyone mentioned this, but he was just throwing a bunch of crap over his head, and it was hitting like high arcing off the backboard and just going in. Like, it's just one of those days where everything you shoot goes in, but they were not good shots. They were well defended, and it didn't happen for 2 games in a row. So now you take the series home and see what happens.
Yeah.
All right, so Oklahoma City Thunder and Houston gave us a lot to talk about yesterday. We were following that like a boxing match, like one of those Rocky movies, punch for punch. This guy does this guy does that. It looks like the Oklahoma City Thunder had that game well in hand until they finally collapsed in the fourth quarter. It's worth mentioning, though, that they had a pretty good lead while they were playing with a fresh Russell Westbrook. It seemed like Westbrook needed a rest. They sat him down for about a minute, 2 minutes, and that minute, 2 minutes was all that it took for Houston to rally back. They made it close, and then a gassed out Russell Westbrook, props to his stamina or whatever, but he was shooting a lot of flat shots, to be honest with you, and a lot of rush shots. Call it what you want, hero ball. He was playing dumb. He was trying to do it all himself, but he was flat, man. He was kind of gassed. It took a lot to get that lead. The team let the lead get away from them, and after that, it was going to be hard to mount that offense again after having done it for three whole quarters. And then I was asking the geniuses that were saying, "Oh man, but he was playing better when he passed." When push comes to shove and it's time to close a game, who do you trust on that team to complete baskets? Like, who are you passing the ball to? When it comes to closing out that game, are you giving the ball to Adams? Is it Canner? You going to set up Roberson? What's the play there?
It's funny you ask. It's not just about setting up your teammates. It's about making smart decisions. Because most of the
smart
critique of
decision
Russell
if you play for Oklahoma City is to not give in to those other players.
If you are Russell Westbrook and you're playing a very tight game in the fourth quarter, why are you pulling up at the three-point line or pulling up for long jump shots with double teams and people on top of you with 20 seconds left in the shot clock? Why are you doing this? You're giving Houston the advantage.
Because to quote the great cousin Juan, he does not trust those players. I don't trust those players.
Okay, it doesn't matter if you trust.
The coach doesn't trust those players. I mean, what's going to be the difference if I shoot the ball and miss than if I pass the ball and have them miss?
Okay, here's the difference. It's about taking smarter shots. A lot of people tell me, oh, but Russell Westbrook takes the pull-up jumper so he can attract the defense and penetrate. But he wasn't doing that during the game. Just pick your spots better. It doesn't mean that you can't shoot it. I think, because, for example, in Game 1, I think Russell Westbrook should have taken over more. I think Russell Westbrook in Game 1, he would have had a better chance of winning if he would have taken a bigger role on the offense instead of forcing so many passes. But why was he forcing so many passes in Game 1? Because he was 3 assists short of a triple-double. Now he has the assists all set up, rebounds all set up. It's all about points. He started taking bad shots. A lot of people are criticizing him for being a volume shooter. That's not my problem with him. My problem is the quality of the shots that he was taking. They're horrible. Horrible. I mean, we saw LeBron James take over in this game, but his shots weren't as bad. He had a couple of bad ones, yes, but he wasn't taking those horrible shots that Westbrook was taking. And when he got double-teamed or when they closed out with help defense when he was trying to get to the paint, he kicked the ball out and somebody hit the three. That's what Harden did with Gordon. That's what Harden did with Pat Bev. And everybody's like, oh, Pat Bev and Gordon saved the day for Harden. No, man, Harden created for them because he's looking for the spots. So Russell Westbrook, my problem with him particularly was that in that game, he wasn't even looking for the spots. He was just pulling up and shooting at will without letting anything develop. You know, and even if the guys aren't going to shoot, get them involved with the ball in their hands so defenses start moving, man. It just came a point that everybody started closing in on Russell Westbrook. And that's my critique with him.
He is a point guard. He's not a pass guard. And that's all I'm going to say about that. Score them points, Russ. Take that series home and let's see what's going to happen.
Guard. He's the legit combo guard.
Let's see what happens there. Have you watched any of the Wizards and the Hawks?
I haven't watched much of that one, but I have seen the greatness of John Wall at most. John Wall has developed into an amazing player, and I can't wait to see him go to the second round. I mean, again, they beat Atlanta. They go up 2-0. Atlanta, a team that, well, they're pretty much a new team to the playoffs because although they've been there consistently, Paul Millsap is pretty much the only guy there from the starting five compared to last year. The starting five now is Tayshaun Prince. He wasn't there last year. Dwight Howard wasn't there last year. Tim Hardaway wasn't there last year.
What?
And
Tayshaun Prince?
was there. Yeah.
He still plays?
He's starting for Kent Bazemore. And Dennis Schroeder wasn't the team, but he wasn't a starter. So this is a brand new team, and John Wall is becoming an excellent player, man. 32 points, 9 assists. He has taken over this team an amazing way. And what I've liked the most about John Wall is the swag that he's given Washington. Did you see that dunk he did on Schroeder and the stare down? I mean, you need that in the playoffs, man. That makes your team rally. That gives your team a lot of energy, man, and that was awesome to watch.
He is the best player in that series, and more times than not, the best player in the series is going to win that series.
Did you see the Bleacher Report Game of Zones video that came out today?
I did not. I'm not really watching this. Is this something I should be following? If you watch it,
just check it out and remember this: John Wall is definitely a top 3-point guard in the East. when you see the video, you'll remember. You laugh. Whoever saw it is gonna laugh about that.
Okay. Game of Zones, Bleacher Report. I like their animated shorts. I think they have good content, but I haven't seen this Game of Zones yet.
Yeah, man, it's worth it.
All right, so let's finish this up. I don't think I have anything to say about Utah and the Clippers. Maybe we'll touch on them in the next one. Finish this up with the Chicago Bulls and the Boston Celtics. I know you've been chomping at the bit to talk about how shitty Al Horford is.
Yeah, I had a lot of respect for Horford, but he's gotten soft, man. I hate to have to agree with Omar on this one. I used to be a big Horford defender, but his game has changed. He's gotten softer, but this is a chance for me to bash on Boston.
He's gotten
like
softer,
everybody has.
But he's always been soft.
Softer. I'm going to get into the shit on Danny Ainge bandwagon that everybody's been on in the last couple of days. And before I get to it, I gotta say it's not fair that everybody's picking on Boston. A lot of people had Boston coming out the series, and now that they're losing, everybody's finding the flaws. Everybody's picking on Boston. Everybody's saying Boston this, Boston that. Come on, people, we're all surprised. We thought Boston was gonna beat Chicago. Let's be real, most of us at least. But the reality is that they had a chance to have either Jimmy Butler or Paul George. I mean, we're seeing what Paul George is doing in Indiana all by himself. Imagine Paul George playing with this Boston team. Maybe it would probably be a different story. You know, I was speaking earlier with you guys through our chat that it's NBA is not about draft picks anymore. That doesn't work. It's nobody builds to the draft anymore. Those days are over. We've talked about how the NBA draft is so talentless because of these one and dones coming in now all the time. Back in the days in the 80s and 90s, you would see players coming into the draft on a senior season, junior seasons, and actually, actually come up with something. But yeah, wrapping it up, they're building through the draft. That's not working. Veteran and leadership is taking over this series in Chicago. Wade, Rondo, and Jimmy Butler's star potential. Amazing how they've taken over. I could see Boston maybe win a game or two, but they're not going to win this series.
They are trying to win this series with one main scorer and trying to put defense on those stars that you mentioned. But in doing that, they're losing the rebound war. No second scorer has stepped up for Boston. And they're getting cooked by Rondo, man. I mean, Rondo, who we thought was done, is cooking the Boston Celtics. It doesn't help that Isaiah Thomas is playing with a heavy heart and that Al Horford is playing with heavy feet. The only bright spot in the Boston Celtics has been Kelly Olynyk trying to break Robin Lopez's arm like he tried to do before to Kevin Love. Take that for experience. But other than that, it's the most dysfunctional team, as they've been referred to on many occasions. The Chicago Bulls have been taking the Boston Celtics to school. Now, the series is 2-0. There's still a lot of basketball left. All it takes is, one win for Boston to start asking the question if this is a series again, and then if they happen to tie the series 2-2, then we have a series, and now is a short playoff. Now it's best out of three. So it's not over. I'm not counting them out yet, but they need to make, to quote you now, they need to make adjustments.
Yeah, losing 2 at home is not the way to go, man. Now pressure's totally on them. It's not the way to go.
So I know there's some series. Go ahead.
Cool thing about this, everybody was hating on LeBron and Cleveland for not getting the first seed. If Boston does not pass to the second round, guess who's the first seed again in the East? There you go.
True indeed. The options for LeBron, I'm not saying that he tanked to get to the second seed, but the options were not great. It's either play against his best friend Dwayne Wade or play against his former team and have to deal with that drama. His best friend made it. He avoided, both of those stones. So whatever, another win for LeBron. All right, so close us out, Packy.
All right, just to close it out, man, I'm not even going to talk about basketball. I'm going to talk about baseball real quick because it concerns you, and it concerns me. Joannis Cespedes left today's game with a hamstring issue. Supposedly there's some concern. So I know you have him in fantasy baseball, and you are playing me in fantasy baseball, and I am kicking your ass in fantasy baseball. And now you lost Joannis Cespedes. I, as a fan, lost Joannis Cespedes. Hopefully it's not that bad. Man, I can't wait. But that's pretty much it. I mean, I don't have anything else to say, man, about it, but besides that.
I heard it was a hamstring cramp. I don't know how bad those are, but it's not a strain. It's a cramp, so maybe it loosens up.
MRI scheduled, and Terry Collins says there's concern. So nothing written in stone yet. But when it comes to hamstring and baseball players, I hate it when they say that.
Yeah, it might be a quick trip to the DL. Anyway, a lot of slow starts in baseball, a lot of injured players. Oh man, I don't even know. It's like a bunch of no-name players that right now are just like rocking everybody's world. But um, I'm 50-50 in fantasy. I'm 2-0 one league. I'm 0-2 in the other league. I'm on my way to 0-3 soon, the way things are going. But these players, these veterans, need to get their shit together, man. They started off really, really slow this year. I don't know if it was the baseball classic. I don't know if it was. I don't know what the hell it was, but they need to get their shit together because I need to start winning some damn fantasy games.
Definitely a great topic for next week.
Man, I'm still kicking.
That should be all for today.
I'm kicking myself, man. I drafted Marcell Ozuna live here on the Unofficial Commentators podcast. I had an opportunity to pick up McCutchen, and I dropped fucking Ozuna. Lo and behold, Ozuna is now probably the best outfielder in baseball, at least at the moment.
Did I not tell you to pick him? I believe I told you to pick him.
I did pick him. I had him. I just dropped him for McCutchen because McCutchen is McCutchen.
Oh, my God.
And then I kept Cole Calhoun, who I ended up dropping anyway, because what the hell. Man, listen, I'm still kicking myself over it. It was a really dumb move. Whatever. I mean, live and learn. But Starling Marte gets an 80-game suspension, so maybe a more prominent role for McCutchen brings him back to old McCutchen form. I don't know. Let's see what the hell happens. But these veterans, man, get your shit together. Listen, we kicked off, or we went off the air so quickly last week that we didn't talk about our sponsors. So Loyal Clothing Inc., Cousin Juan's project with the clothing. The report card is not a sponsor, but it's also another podcast you should be checking out. If you're a fan of podcasts, check out the report card for interest in urban music. The Scotch Porter link that we put up there all the time, check it out. Get a discount for men's grooming needs and get sleek, sexy beards like myself and Mr. Packy over there. Jesse Driving School, if you're looking to get your license in New York. For over 20 years, we've been getting licenses. Here in the Brooklyn area, Jesse Driving Schools, JJ Driving Schools, they're both related, so check them both out. Those are both family projects. And check out Packy on his weekly spots on the radio. He writes a column that he's going to start posting on the Unofficial Commentators Facebook. That's Unofficial Commentators. I might get the bug and start writing some things too. Let's see if I can make the time. And with that being said, I will catch all of you next week. Thank you for joining us. See you next time. Peace out.